welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing a response to Rob Walker's vinyl tag for 2024. So he's got 20 questions here, like everyone like to answer. So yeah, no, I'm maybe a couple of days late responding to this, I guess. Well, it doesn't really have a time limit on it, does it really? But yeah, just been very busy over kind of like the Christmas New Year period. Got quite a backlog of videos to get uploaded, so I just thought that I'd get this one out quite quickly since it is a kind of good kind of start of the year sort of video. So I'll just get right into it. So the first question is your favourite purchase from 2023. This one was probably one of the more difficult questions, I have to say, to answer, because I do buy a lot, and I was kind of going through my Discord thinking, well, what is my favourite? What's the thing I maybe listened to the most, or kind of most grateful like that I own, I guess, and possibly I'm going to offer this one in as my favourite. It's a Church compilation called Hindsight, and the Church are a great Australian kind of alternative rock band, a little bit proggy in places, but this more early stuff is kind of more kind of short, sharp kind of singles and that. But this is a great compilation. We bought this on Discogs, and it was released only, I think, in their native Australia, and it's a great track list of some of their singles and slightly more popular songs, things like The Unguarded Moment and Almost With You, and then some B-sides as well, like a lot of tracks that which I wasn't familiar with either on here. So this is a great listen, a great kind of double compilation there, and fantastic artwork as well, I have to say, with this as well. Just quickly show it off here. So every song's got a little write-up about where it's taken from. Lovely kind of kaleidoscopic artwork there, and then you've got each one that has like an inner sleeve as well. So yeah, this is probably my favourite one, certainly one I've played a lot this year, and also yeah, like just thrilled to get a copy of it. Next question number 2 is the last purchase you made in 2023. So I did a bit of records. So I was down at my grandparents over Christmas, who stayed just outside of Manchester, and I think this was just after Christmas, maybe like the 27th or the 28th. I went into Liverpool because there's a couple of really good record shops there, and so in Liverpool, funnily enough, I actually bought this, which is the Beatles Magical Mystery Tour, the original 7-inch EP. Now I thought these were quite well not rare, but certainly went for a bit of money, but this was only about 20 quid, so I was more than happy to pay that. I'll just quickly show it here, like if I can get it out. This is it's a mono copy of it here. I think they might have only been in mono, like these 7-inch singles, and then it's just two 7-inches, and then a booklet with a wee cartoon strip and pictures from the Magical Mystery Tour film as well. So yeah, really thrilled to get this. So that was my my last purchase made there in 2023. Question number 3 now is a band who released 2 albums in the same year. Band or artist who released 2 albums in the same year. So I'm going to go for Elvis Costello, who released 2 albums in 1981. So they were the excellent album Trust Here, one of his most underrated efforts, brilliant record. And then later that same year, he put out Almost Blue, which is a kind of album of kind of country covers, basically. It's good, it's decent. Not one of my favourite Costello records, but there's some great tracks on here, like Good Year for the Roses, and I really like the opener, like Why Don't You Love Me Like You Used to Do. Great songs, and like he does them like rather well. So yeah, Almost Blue there, both released in 1981. Next question from Rob was, if you could only listen to music for one decade, what would that decade be? And for me, this is quite an easy one. I would go with the 1980s. I think for me, it's just got a lot of variety there, both in terms of the kind of, I guess you could probably call legacy artists, people like McCartney was still pumping out albums kind of like this sort of people from like the 60s, but then you also had a whole slew of great indie, the Smiths, like Smiths New Order, like House Martins, all that great stuff came out again like in like the 1980s, Prefab Sprout as well. So I think it was a very rich musical decade, and would be the one that I would pick if I could only listen to music from one decade. Next up at question 5 is Rob wants us to show us some music from Manchester. Rob is from just outside of Manchester, and I also so happen to be a big fan of music from Manchester as well. So I've got a few from various different decades here. So from the 60s, I've got the Hollies, a really great underrated band, I think, like the Hollies. Like this is just a great 20 Golden Greats compilation. It's the only thing like I own off theirs. It's the only thing you really need, to be honest. There's a lot of great stuff in there. Bus Stop, Look Through Any Window, like On a Carousel. A lot of great songs, like great tight kind of 60s songs, great harmonies, Silver Hollies, fantastic stuff. Moving into the kind of 1970s, got the wonderful 10cc. They recorded, I think, nearly all of their albums at their own studios just outside of Manchester in Stockport, and yeah, fantastic Manchester band, 10cc. Of course, you can't mention Manchester music without talking about the Smiths, of course, an incredibly influential band, one of my all-time favourites. Also want to show this off again, my signed copy of The Queen is Dead, signed by Johnny Marr there, when I got to meet him earlier this year. So, yeah, fantastic stuff there. The Smiths. Got a couple more New Order as well from Manchester. Yeah, love a bit of New Order. And then, of course, the Stone Roses as well. One of the all-time great debut albums, one of the all-time great albums like of all time here, you know, the Stone Roses. Fantastic stuff. Okay, next up, question number 6 is which artist did you listen to the most during 2023? Now, I cannot say for sure who I listened to the most when you certainly combine things like records and also streaming, but I do know for a fact that on my Spotify Wrapped, my top artist was Paul McCartney. Not, I guess, was a surprise, maybe not too much of a surprise. I mean, McCartney is the kind of, for me anyway, the ultimate kind of comfort music, you know, it was very familiar to me, so if I do just want to listen to something which I guess you could call easy listening, you know, something very familiar, then I think McCartney, like, is, like, one of, like, my go-to ones, like, obviously, and just also a wee fact, yeah, my top listened to song by Paul McCartney off last year was The Pound Is Sinking from Tug of War here, which is, yeah, possibly my favourite song of his. I'm not really sure, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that's my favourite, but it was certainly the ones that I listened to the most, from Spotify at least. If you combine with records, yeah, it probably is McCartney, to be honest, yeah. Next one up is to show 7 7-inch singles here, so I've chosen these ones out, not quite at random, but for ones where I think they've got a really good B-side, you know, like, not so much that the B-side's better than the A-side, like, or anything like that, but just where I think the B-side should be a lot more well-known, and that's also why I do love collecting 7-inch singles as well. A lot of the time it is for, like, the B-sides. So I'll show this one here. Firstly, The Beautiful South, Good as Gold, great B-side here on here called Love Adjourned. For me, ranks up there with the very best Beautiful South songs. Lloyd Cole here, My Bag. This one's got a song called Jesus Said on the B-side, a really good, underrated, my B-side there, fantastic stuff, should have been on. I think it's an outtake from the Easy Pieces album, and would have been definitely one of the strongest tracks on that album. I've got an ELO one here, which is for Twilight. This has got a great song called Julie Don't Live Here on the B-side. Again, that should have made the Time album, in my opinion. Next one up is Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, Riverman here, a fairly recent purchase, this one here, and a recent discovery, like, on, like, the B-side, a great new song called Leave My Guitar Alone. Fantastic stuff, maybe not album quality worth, but an underrated song, and, like, Noel and, like I mean, I go, like, right back to, like, the Oasis days, made really great B-sides, which are really, really worth listening to. Next up, I think this is my 5th one here, yeah, is The Jam, Just Who Is a 5 O'Clock Hero. This was an import single. Interestingly, this is I think this is the highest charting import single in, like, the UK. I think it was only released, like, in, like, the Netherlands or something, like, maybe, like, across mainland Europe, but never got an official UK release, but still managed to chart here, I think at number 8, and this has got a great B-side, the song called The Great Depression, which never gets mentioned, like, when people talk about Jam B-sides. Everyone always raves about The Butterfly Collector, Tales from the Riverbank, and although those are great songs, I think The Great Depression really stands up alongside those. Next up, another Paul McCartney one. This is Once Upon a Long Ago. Great B-side on here, Back on My Feet, which is the first Paul and Elvis Costello co-write. Great stuff. And this one here I'm choosing not so much because of the B-side, which I can't even remember, like, what it is, but it's because of the packaging of this. So it says XTC, No Thugs in Our House, and XTC always went over and above with their singles packaging. So this one folds open. You then let me see how this works again. So you then get the 7-inch in here, like so, and this has got a song called Chain of Command and Limelight on the B-side, which I think they've recycled on countless B-sides at XTC, and then you then also get a little insert with all of the characters from the song, so the young policeman, the judge, the kind of like Graham's parents, I guess, here as well, and yeah, I mean, I guess you could in theory start cutting these out and stuff, but no, XTC went over and above with their singles. Okay, next one up was possibly probably the most difficult one for me to come up with an answer to, and I'm still not really 100% happy with my answer. So this is, if you could invite 4 kind of musicians, either dead or alive, to a dinner party. So this one, yeah, was a bit of a weird one for me. I guess if I was to, I was just thinking of people who I like and who I find fun to watch, I guess, in terms of like interviews and that kind of thing. Definitely up there for me would be Andy Partridge. I think he is an absolute hoot, like in like interviews, and I think he'd be a lot of fun like at like any dinner party. I'd also probably put Paul Heaton there as well. I think he's quite funny, quite deadpan sort of humour, and I think again quite like an amusing guy. I've also got Tom Petty as well. I think like at like my dinner party, he's just very laid back. I think you could imagine after the dinner party just sort of like getting like your guitars out and jamming away. I think like he'd be a lot of fun. And then 4th one, I've got really no idea. I think I had noted down David Byrne from Talking Heads again. I think he'd be quite fun to have a conversation with about God knows what, So those would be my 4 like at like a dinner party. But I've maybe not quite thought of how they would all interact together, possibly. Okay, next one up at number 9 is an artist that we sadly lost in 2023. So I'm going for Denny Laine from Wings and the Moody Blues. An integral part like of Paul McCartney's music, like in like the 1970s. The Wings 3-part harmony was one of the great kind of voice collectives, I guess you could say, like off like the 70s, the way that like the voices blended. He wrote some great songs like with Wings, a couple of which are on this album, and then co-wrote quite a few like with McCartney, including Mulligan Tire, like the biggest selling non-charity single like of all time. So Denny Laine there will be very, very sadly missed. Okay, next question up is if you could only listen to music from one country, so music what was released or the artists are from like one particular country. So Rob did say in this that the UK, you can't really say the UK has to be split up like into its constituent parts. So most videos I've seen of this response have gone for England, but I'm going to be different and kind of patriotic because I am Scottish, and I'm going to go with Scotland because you get a really good mix, I think, of kind of early 80s indie stuff. Things like Orange Juice are from Scotland, of course, and fantastic Aztec Camera, Roddy Frame, one of the great 80s songwriters there. So you get a bit of that. You get slightly darker stuff and things like the kind of early Creation records, so things like the Jesus and Mary chain there. And then you also get more kind of poppy stuff as well, I guess, like things like Big Country, which I've not pulled out, but also Deacon Blue, fantastic Scottish band. And then one of my favourite discoveries from like the last year has been Belle and Sebastian, who are of course a kind of West Coast Scotland band there. The Boy with the Arab Strap, fantastic album. So I would go with, if I could only listen to music from one from one country, I would go with Scotland. Okay, next question up is VC channel discoveries from the past year. So again, I maybe don't watch too many videos. I'm just busy, I guess, making my own, I guess, and also just with work and like whatnot, So I don't watch too many, but a couple of channels which I have come across and really enjoyed watching are Pock and Rop. Just need to get that right. He does some fantastic videos, particularly ranking videos, so of all sorts, things like McCartney, but I think he did a Beautiful South one like as well, which was really good, really great to see them getting some kind of VC like appreciation. And then Elliot Roberts is another channel which I've really watched quite a lot. He's not quite VC, but he definitely does a lot of he does great kind of Beatles kind of deep dives in that into things like their films, and kind of one great video of his was him basically just going through the McCartney film Give My Regards to Broad Street, and just kind of not quite taking the mickey out of it, but kind of just sort of pointing, I kind of doing a kind of critique of it and just sort of talking about that, and it was quite a funny video. So he's got quite high production value, like his videos, so great stuff. So those were the two that I probably watched like the most like the past year, or sort of discovered like in like the past year. Next question up, question 12, is a record that you bought when you were a teenager. So I probably did start collecting vinyl when I was maybe about 15, I think, was when I probably started doing these videos, and then that's how my collection has built up over time by sort of almost doing these videos like as well. So, but one record which I think the first record I bought, which was way before I had a collection. It was the first, yeah, I said it was the first one I bought. Was Wings Over America, where me and my family were at I think it's called New Lanark. It's a kind of heritage kind of centre, like in that kind of central Scotland, and we just stumbled across a record fair. Like there was kind of like it was kind of, as I said, like this kind of museum-y sort of thing, and then in a wee room they had a record fair, so we went in, and again it was really kind of not quite mind-blowing, but sort of like, wow, there's so much great music here. And I came across this one. I was a big fan of McCartney at this point, so I was looking for like anything McCartney. So when I seen this triple LP, I was like, ooh, yeah, I definitely want that. So yeah, this was the first one I bought when I must have been maybe say about 13, 14, I think, like when I purchased this. So yeah, Wings Over America there. Next question is to show some soul or funk music. I must confess, this isn't my go-to genre. I don't really have many things to show, but I do have a copy here of Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life, one of the all-time great 70s albums. A lot of great stuff on here. Sir Duke, Wish, As, yeah, a lot of great stuff on here. So yeah, like, I'm slowly getting like into Stevie Wonder like I did. So this is my dad's old copy. It's got his name kind of embossed there, like on top, like as he did like in like the 70s. But I did purchase a copy of Talking Book, I think at the end of last year, which again I really enjoyed. So yeah, slowly I guess getting like into Stevie Wonder like a little bit more. Next question, number 14 now, is to show a record that everyone has or everyone should have, and then a record that you think that no one watching this video will own. So for the first one, a record I think everyone should own is Sgt. Pepper. I know it's probably not quite as revered, I guess, as it used to be in terms of Beatles albums. I guess you often see like Abbey Road and Revolver getting kind of a lot more acclaim as the best Beatles album now. But I do think Sgt. Pepper is probably still the most iconic one, and the one I think every record collection should have a copy of. Yeah, just really appreciate like this artwork again. Like actually, it has been a while. It's been a while since I pulled this one out, and it is just so colourful actually. Yeah, so yeah, Sgt. Pepper, definitely yeah, like the record that I think everyone should own. And then a record which I think almost no one will own. So this was one of my favourite album releases from last year. It's by a band called Sandra's Wedding, and this is an album called The Hopeful Boy Replacement Service. So I don't think they're signed to like a label like or anything. They release their music through Bandcamp, but they are fantastic. They're kind of North Yorkshire band, very House Martinsy, Smithsy kind of beautiful South sort of thing. If like you're a fan of any of those bands, you will really like Sandra's Wedding. This is a great record, and it's me. I think it's something like their 5th or 6th album. Like they've got quite a back catalogue like already, and I've just purchased a few more of their other albums. So yeah, big fan of theirs, and they really should be like a lot bigger than they are. Okay, next up now at number 15 now is a female artist that you bought in 2023. So I've got Kate Bush Lionheart here. This completed my Kate Bush collection up to I think 1989. I've got everything she put out there. So yeah, fantastic artist. Like a lot of great music here. Probably like these early albums, not quite my favourite. I'd say I probably do prefer the Dreaming and Hounds of Love, like that sort of era. But no, this is great stuff. So yeah, a female artist I bought in 2023. Next question up is another kind of two-pronged one, which is your favourite video that you yourself made in 2023, and then a favourite video that you watched. So I guess one new thing that I've started doing a bit more in 2023 is kind of like collaboration videos, which I've really like enjoyed doing. It is great to kind of have a kind of quite an in-depth, I guess, conversation like with people about various different types of music. So I've done quite a few of those. If I was to pick out a favourite out of those ones I've done, I'd possibly say the Andy Partridge video I did with James Griffiths was a particular favourite. Really enjoyed having a great in-depth discussion about like Andy Partridge's songs, and I think that video came out like quite well. And my favourite video that I watched would probably be Richard McCook, Rob Walker and Lloyd Boone choosing their top 10 Paul Weller singles, and this was from across his whole career. So I mean, yeah, their list did definitely lean more towards the of jam, but I suppose like that's to be expected, I guess. But it was a fantastic video, and like again, great to see people like through the magic of Zoom, I guess, now being able to collaborate and kind of like make like videos together. Next question up, question 17, is to show a 90s classic. So you can't get much more 90s classic than Blur's Parklife. Brilliant record. Yeah, not much more to say about it than that. Next question up was another interesting one, which is an album cover that you could walk into. So this took a bit of thought, so it needed to be a kind of landscapey kind of cover, or I guess something like a kind of I guess set in a kind of place sort of thing, like where you could walk into. So I guess the one I'm going to show is David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust album, which has taken on a kind of London street, I think in Soho. The street is still there, of course, but I think it's pretty much unrecognisable now. I think with the signs being taken down, I think the lamppost is also gone as well, so it's completely like unrecognisable. But yeah, it would be quite interesting just to walk along here and then to see Ziggy just sort of sitting like on like the door there, very kind of like ominous kind of like image there. So yeah, David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust. Next up at question 19 is an album that feels like a greatest hits. This one again took a bit of thought. I was gonna almost show the Stone Roses album again, but that's a bit of a cop out. They only had two albums, and the second one's not very good. So in the end, I went for Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water, despite the fact that some of their big hits, things like Mrs. Robinson, Sounds of Silence, aren't actually on here. This album still feels like a greatest hits, kicking off with the title track, then going through the likes of Cecilia, Keep the Customer Satisfied, The Boxer, Baby Driver, which have become a lot more well known because of like the film of like the same name, like The Only Living Boy in New York. Probably, yeah, like definitely a very consistently good album throughout, and yeah, definitely feels like a kind of greatest hits. Like there's no tracks worth skipping on here. Okay, and final question now, question number 20, is to show an album that turns 50 in 2024, so released in 1974. So I'm going to show Big Star's Radio City album here. Yeah, very good album, one which is very like influential as well on the likes of things like REM and Teenage Fan Club. A lot of bands kind of like in like the 80s and 90s were really inspired like by Big Star, even though like at like the time they went pretty much completely like under the radar. So yeah, that's Big Star and Radio City. Okay, so that's me come to the end of this video, so I hope you have all enjoyed. Thanks to Rob again for like coming up like with like this year's vinyl tag. I will link his original video in the description, and yep, I'll see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.